It's now 2025 and it's time for me to do an update video. My last update video was in June of 2024 because I missed September's update video. Last year I planned to do one video a week for the entire year, which is a total of 52 videos. I didn't upload a video every week, so I fell short of my goal. However, I did upload 36 videos, which might be the most videos I've uploaded in 1 year. I still have plenty of video ideas, and some of the video ideas that I have are from my followers and viewers. So if you have a video idea, put it in the comments. In this video, I'm going to tell you what I've been doing in my life since my last update video. Let me know in the comments what you've been doing in your life. If you are new to the channel, my name is Ellis, and I'm a C5 through C7 quadriplegic. I make videos to help you live life just like you would have able-bodied. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Last year I made a video talking about my plans for 2024. I had a lot of plans, but unfortunately I didn't do everything I had planned. Some of the things that I had planned that I didn't get to do that I still want to do is get a 3D printer. I'm just holding off on buying one because I'm hesitant about getting it, which I should just buy one, but I don't know much about them. I don't know what the best brand or model is and what to look for, things that are good or bad, and I'm not sure what the learning curve is on trying to figure it out. I still have my website, livingablebodied.com, and you can go over there right now. I'm just trying to figure out what value I can provide from the website or on the website, because right now it costs too much without having it pay for itself. My plan was to do one article on my website for every video that I make, but then I thought that's kind of stepping backwards from what I had originally planned when making this YouTube channel. Because I started making videos on YouTube because I couldn't find what I was looking for. There was only articles and I wanted to watch videos. I've been doing the videos, but then I decided I would try making articles, and I thought the articles took too long for me to write for as little a value as they provided, where I just had the videos were already providing the value, if that makes sense. This is where I'm thinking a 3D printer would help, where I could sell 3D printed products that might be able to help people. If you have any ideas on how I can provide value on my website and help it pay for itself, let me know. I still want to start my Living Able-Bodied podcast and interview people with disabilities. I did do a few podcast videos several years ago. It was called The Limitless Podcast, but I'm going to change it to Living Able-Bodied Podcast so it matches my brand across the board. A few years ago, whenever the pandemic was going on, I believe, I started doing live videos, so I'd like to start doing some more live videos again. Now to the updates on what I've been doing in my life since the last update video. In July, I went to the McCormick's Creek State Park, which is in Indiana, and they do have an accessible trail. However, the trail was closed due to tornado damage that they had a couple of years ago, where at least one person lost their life. I was asked to try out a wheelchair that has an adaptation on it that's controlled by artificial intelligence called Magic Mode, and it's made by a company called Ecotech. It has a bar on the wheelchair coming up over your head and then across like this with cameras or sensors on it to detect different objects and stuff. It has an automated driving system and it's really cool. I have made a couple of videos on it, so I do recommend checking those out, and I do plan on working with them in the future. In October, I went to the Oliver Anthony concert at the Everwise Amphitheater at White River State Park in Indianapolis. Oliver Anthony is the guy who sang Richmond, North of Richmond, and the video online went viral. Then he started doing concerts, and I bought a couple of tickets, so I went up there to watch him. It was a sold-out crowd of 6,000 people, which is awesome for someone who has never signed a record deal. His voice and music are both really unique, and you can feel the lyrics, if that makes sense. He and his band performed Freebird by Leonard Skinner with a fiddle, and it was freaking awesome. Several years ago, I started watching videos on YouTube from a channel called Financial Education. He originally started making videos about personal financing, but now he mainly does videos on the stock market. He has a private group as well as a Discord channel and all kinds of videos that you can get to help you in the stock market. I'm a member of his private group, which is Jeremy's private stock group, and he gives out plaques or trophy things for people in his group that reach six figures in the stock market, which is $100,000, and seven figures in the stock market, which is $1 million. I was able to reach six figures in the stock market, so I got one of the trophies. I was asked by Wheelchair Chronicles on Instagram if I would be interested in being featured on his podcast, so I said yes. I had never heard of Wheelchair Chronicles, but I was on his podcast, and it's on my Instagram. It's also on his Instagram, which I believe is wheelchair_chronicles. My Instagram is MasonX54. We talk about spinal cord injury, my story, and tips and tricks, and all kinds of stuff related to spinal cord injury. So if you want to check that out, go to our Instagram. In September, I got an open wound on my middle finger, and this has happened multiple times, but I cannot figure out what's causing it because my middle finger is one of my fingers that I don't have good feeling on. So I don't feel when I scrape my finger. I notice it later on, and by then I notice it because my finger beside it is all bloody. This has happened at least 3 times now, and it's happened since this. Right now it is kind of scabbed over, so it's still trying to heal. I went to the View Country Music Fest, which I had never heard of, but it's like a little country music festival that they have. One of the people who played was Hank Ruff, which I've seen before. He was playing in a bar. And also whenever I was there, they let a young kid, I'm not sure how old he was, like maybe 13, go up on stage with a guitar, and he sang. And he was really good with the guitar and was singing both. But I can't remember what song he sang. But he was really good, and he was from the area, so maybe he will produce songs. I got my wheelchair worked on, which is the Permobil F5 VS, which is vertical standing. I got it worked on, replaced the tires, all 6 tires actually, the big ones, the casters in the back, and then the small wheelie bar wheels in the front. For some reason, those wheels that go down whenever I stand up were extremely worn down, and my wheelchair tech had never seen that before. I also got an extra cushion so that way I could use it if mine went flat or something like that. I originally thought it was going to work until I stood up and realized that the cushion was too long because it wouldn't let me stand up because there wasn't enough room there, so I had to get a different one. Before my wheelchair tech got here, I got my manual wheelchair out of the closet so I could use it while he was working on my power wheelchair, and I noticed on the push rims of my manual wheelchair, which is the Tie-Lite Aero T wheelchair, and I got Spinergy wheels. I noticed on the push rim, it almost looked like mold, but I don't know if that's what it is or not, because the closet that the wheelchair was in is dry. There's like no moisture in there or anything, so I'm not really sure what that was. I shot my Mission Sniper light crossbow to get ready for deer season, to make sure it was still dialed in, and the first shot that I took, it was right on the money, and I might have took a second shot, I'm not sure, but it was still accurate from last season. In October, I went to an annual festival that my town has, and I always look forward to it, but I'm always disappointed. It just seemed to be a lot better when I was younger, but I do still like to go down there because I get to see people that I know and am friends with that I probably haven't seen since the previous festival. I went to a casino in Terre Haute, which was recently built maybe a year or 2 ago, and the sinks in the restrooms are really high tech. The sinks in the restrooms have a faucet that has a thing for soap, a thing for water, and then a thing for air to dry your hands, all in the same faucet, and I've never seen that before, but it's really cool. Whenever I first saw it, I figured it probably doesn't work all the time and they have a lot of issues with it, but I've never had an issue with using it. Luke Combs opened a bar in Nashville, Tennessee called Category 10, and he's a big fan of ball caps like this or hats. So in his bar, he was going to have a hat wall that featured a bunch of hats of his as well as hats from his fans. He posted a video on social media for his fans to mail in their favorite hat as well as why that hat was meaningful to you. So I mailed in my Country Boys Can Survive hat, which after my wreck, my friends made shirts that said Country Boys Can Survive to help raise money for my friend and I to help pay for medical bills. And I got some hats made that were Country Boys Can Survive hats. Both the shirts and the hats are green with yellow text. But I mailed in the Country Boys Can Survive hat as well as a picture of my vehicle and my story behind why that hat meant so much to me. And surprisingly, my hat was one of the hats that was chosen to be on the hat wall in the Category 10 bar. In November, I got a deer opening morning of gun season, and after it started getting light outside, the hunt lasted like 15 minutes. The night before the opening morning of gun season was when Mike Tyson and Jake Paul did the boxing match, and so while my dad and I were waiting on it to get light outside, I pulled up that fight on Netflix, and I fast forwarded in between the rounds, and we watched the fight. And then after that was done, my dad looked up and noticed a deer was coming out of the woods, and my dad was to my right and the deer was to my left. We were like looking out this window because we were hunting out of the hunting blind that he made a few years ago for me. He said, "There's a deer, get your gun ready." And I got the gun, and he's like, "Get on it." And I didn't even see it. "It's running, get ready." And I'm like, "Where's the deer?" And then I went like this and looked around the window, and then I saw it. I got the crosshairs on it, and it stopped like right as soon as it got in the food plot and looked at us, and boom, I shot and it ran off. Got a heart shot, so we weren't able to get the heart out of it to eat. It was a 10-pointer, and I'm glad that I got a nice buck this year, because last year I saw a decent buck opening morning that I passed on getting, and then I didn't see a nice deer or a nice buck the rest of the season. My dad's friend was hunting on our property that morning as well, and about an hour later he got a nice buck. And that evening, my nephew got a deer where he lives. Then 2 days later, my dad got a buck on our property. So we had 3 nice bucks killed on our property. My dad's friend wanted a backstrap out of his deer, and my nephew wanted everything made into jerky, which my dad didn't make all of his deer into jerky, but most of it. And so we got a lot of meat. In December, my dad, my mom, and I all went to Nashville for a vacation, and I did make a video on this, so check that out if you're interested. And we stayed at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center, which is something like I'd never seen before until a couple of years ago whenever we stayed there. Not on purpose, because I rented a cheaper hotel that was across the road, and when we got there, the bathroom didn't have a wheelchair accessible shower or any wheelchair accessible features. The cheap hotel was all out of wheelchair accessible rooms at that time, so they let us stay at the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center for the same price that we were paying for the cheapy hotel, and it was just mind-blowing. I'd never seen anything like it. But we went to the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum, and I got to see the Luke Combs exhibit, and we were there at the Country Music Hall of Fame last time we were in Nashville, but I wanted to go to the Hall of Fame again because I knew they had a Luke Combs exhibit, and so got to check that out. And then I got to see my hat on the hat wall in Category 10 bar. I got my room painted, which you probably noticed that by now. It was red, which I don't know why it was red. Apparently I wanted red a long time ago, but I don't remember that, and now you can see that it's gray. So it's a lot brighter in here even with the lights off, and I think it looks better. My dad ripped up the thick carpet in my bedroom, which you can see, and below it was wood floor from the remodel we did back in 2002, and the floor has paint and drywall mud on it that still needs to get cleaned up. But the audio in this video might sound different since there's no carpet in the room now. I sold all my PlayStation 4 games on eBay because a few years ago my PlayStation 4 stopped working after a storm, and since I don't have a console to play them and I don't really play games using a controller, I prefer keyboard and mouse, I sold the games. I downloaded DraftKings on my phone and started betting on sports, and I don't even watch sports besides usually the Super Bowl, every year, and then just some games here and there maybe. But I transferred $100 into my DraftKings account, and so far I've doubled it, and I don't even watch sports. My dad had to put down my dog Smokey, which was a beagle, and Smokey and his sister Lucy were born on Christmas Day of 2010, and we got them soon after that. Before we got them, their dog pen caught on fire, and they were lucky to survive. When they arrived at my house, we were figuring out what to name them, and they both smelled like smoke from the fire they were in, but the male had a stronger odor, so I named him Smokey. He always had his nose to the ground at trying to track rabbits, and out of all the beagles we've had in my life, he loved chasing rabbits the most. He would run rabbits literally all day and night. I remember one time I was asleep in bed and was awakened by him barking on a rabbit trail outside the window at like 2 a.m. And most of the time my dad had to go and get him because he wouldn't stop running rabbits. His sister Lucy would always come back before him and bark to get him to return home. Lucy had to be put down a couple of years ago because of her seizures and paralysis. And Smokey was always hyper and energetic, and Lucy was always calm and gentle. One time while Smokey and Lucy were running rabbits, I spotted them in the yard and noticed Smokey's tail was short and blood was on the left side of his head. We think a coyote attacked him, and it resulted in him losing his left ear and tail. And I thought that experience would calm him down, but it didn't change him. He was still the same Smokey, just a little bit lighter. I'm a mentor for the Christopher Reeve Peer and Family Support Program, and I got assigned as the mentor for a new mentee, so I'm looking forward to helping them. That's an update on what I've been doing in my life. Don't forget to let me know in the comments what you have been doing in your life. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you watch another one of my videos.